Today we're going to be reviewing Acoustic Samples V-Tines electric piano, as well as giving away a full Acoustic Samples license. Hi folks, I'm Mike and I hope you're well. Now today I'm so excited and I just can't hide it.
I'm so excited and I just can't hide.
And the reason is I'm going to be reviewing the V-Tines Fender Rhodes electric piano made by Acoustic Samples. Not only that, but I'm going to be giving you details about how you can get your hands on a full license with Acoustic Samples of any instrument from their range. Yes, that's our giveaway today, but you'll need to watch to the end of the video to find out how to enter. But before you rush off and skip to the end of the video without watching the bit in between, I'll give you two reasons why you shouldn't do that. One, it's cheating, and two, you're going to miss out on this awesome instrument called V-Tines, which I'm going to take a look at now. Okay, so here we are with the V-Tines instrument all loaded up, but before we dig into it, let's have a quick chat about what it's based upon. The V-Tines electric keyboard is based upon the Fender Rhodes keyboard, which was invented by Harold Rhodes and became popular during the 1970s. It's got a really unique sound to it, and that's because it's created in a unique way. It actually has a hammer action, just like an acoustic piano, but instead of the hammers hitting a string, they hit a thin rod called a tine, which is connected to something called a tone bar, and next to each tine is a pickup, and that is what creates the unique sound of this instrument. Now that's really important because those details actually play a part in this instrument, and you will see that a bit later on. But first of all, let's have a look at the basic instrument itself. It comes as a library in the UVI workstation. So if you don't have the UVI workstation, don't worry about that. It's a free download and you get full instructions on how to download and install the V-Tines library. Now I do want to mention that as well as the V-Tines library itself, you get some freebies. You get something called the AS Free Pack, which includes a drum kit, an upright bass, a little sort of snare drum sample, an udu, which is a really fun instrument, I reckon, and a vibraphone as well. So you're not just getting the electric piano itself. I'll just load up the electric piano and you will see that it loads really, really quickly. And that's because they've taken a little unique approach to this library. Rather than just using huge samples, which would be massive, use up loads of memory, loads of hard disk space, they've done a combination of samples and modeling, and it creates a really, really responsive instrument, as well as keeping it down to a really small file size. So the basic sounds something like this. Quite a pleasant and soft tone. But what makes this instrument interesting is this: as you make the velocity harder, you actually get an edgier tone, a kind of an overdrive to it. Have a listen. Now I've put together a short sequence to give you an idea of the range of the instrument from the top down to the bottom, and I've tried to do some variations in velocity so you can hear that sort of slightly overdriven sound kick in. Have a listen. So here with that basic sort of demonstration, you can hear quite a bit of the sound of this instrument. And that's just the default sound. They give you masses of control over the sound of this instrument, which I will be moving on to next. So the first area of control is on the main interface itself. Each of the knobs has actually got two parts to it, or an outer ring and an inner knob. And we'll look at the first one here. You'll see it's labeled acoustic and electric. Do you remember earlier I talked about that hammer action that you get with this instrument? Well, here you can actually hear the hammer sounds. I'm going to turn the main instrument off just so you can hear the hammer sounds themselves. Have a listen. Probably not what you're after, but if you blend it in with the main tone, of course, you can get a really sort of nice sort of percussive feel to it, actually. So that's the first area of control. Very interesting. It's nice that they've put that detail in there. Now, secondly, we've got a treble and bass control. Again, an outer ring and an inner control. I don't think I really need to demonstrate that one, except to say that it is very useful. The next one's really, really interesting to me. You'll notice it's labeled vibrato. Now, there was a kind of a mistake made when they labeled this on the original instrument, because vibrato is actually sort of a change in pitch. This is actually more of a tremolo effect, because you get a change in the panning. It goes from left to right speaker. Have a listen to what it does to the sound. It's really nice. Now, the advantage you have over the original instrument, of course, is you can link it to the tempo of your song in your DAW. So you can just click that on there and it's immediately going to link to the tempo of the song, which is really, really nice. Now, over on the right-hand side, I'll first have a look at the inner knob, which is the reverb control. This is actually a really nice reverb. Have a listen. Pretty good. And the outer ring is pretty interesting, actually, because this really adds that overdrive effect to it. Have a listen to that. And actually, as soon as I heard this, it put me in mind of a particular song, which I'll give you a play. And if you can tell me in the comments what song this is, then I'll give you a shout out in the next video. Don't sing it. So that's just the main interface where you get an amount of control over this instrument. And you'll notice right on the right hand side, there is a switch to switch an amp on. And it's that I'll be talking about next. So as I mentioned, over here on the right, you can switch an amp simulator on, but rather than do it here, I'm actually going to click over here and click on amp. And that brings up the full interface for the amp simulator. Really nice looking interface, by the way, guys. Really like this a lot. So if you switch the amp simulator on, then you start to get some really cool choices. You start off here with the mic position being with the mics at the back of the instrument. And then I'll play a little demo. And you can actually move the mics around like so, or move them to a different distance. You can actually switch to a front mic, which gives a really, really different sound again. And again, you can play with the distance of that. As well as that, you have a player position mic, which again gives a much more sort of ambient sort of sound. And you've also got room mic. So you've already got an enormous control over the sound there, and it sounds really authentic. Talking about authenticity, they also actually give you some amp noise. I'll turn it up full briefly. I'm not sure why you'd want to introduce that. Most of us are trying to get rid of it, but I'm glad that the developers took the time to put it there just in case you do want to use it. So that is the amp simulator. Next, I'll be moving on to some of the effects you get for free with this instrument. So starting from the main interface again, if you click on effects, it brings up this lovely pedal board of effects. Now, this is just a great addition. I'm not going to go through every single one of these effects. I do want to mention one in particular, and that is the phaser, because the phaser was a really commonly used effect on the Fender Rhodes electric piano. If we switch it on and have a listen, you'll hear it right away. or maybe on something like this. So it's a really nice addition they've put here, nice UI. And if you've got a MIDI foot controller, you can assign CCs to all of these controls. In fact, that's true over the whole instrument. You can right click on any control and assign a MIDI controller to it. So that's a really useful feature, but I have saved the best till last. And that is the really deep control over this instrument. That'll be in the next part. So we're back in the main interface, and I want to show you what I think is the coolest part of this whole instrument. If you click on preferences, you get a visual representation of the inner workings of the instrument. Do you remember I told you at the beginning of the video that what made this instrument unique was the fact that a hammer hit a thing called a tine, which is a sort of a thin metal rod, which is connected to a tone bar, which has a pickup near it. Well, you actually get control over those things in this interface. Very, very cool indeed. If I click on all notes, then I can change all of the notes at once, or I can go into individual notes. Let's play our little demo again and have a listen to how it sounds, how it changes the sound in a really cool way. So I'm going to change the pickup distance. Now I'm going to change the tine height. And loads of other controls there which don't so much visually change but actually have an effect on the overall sound. You could play with that for hours and hours and get really, really unique sounds, and that may be just what you want in your music. So that completes the overview of this instrument. I've really loved it. But before you go, as regular viewers of the channel know, I like to play instruments in the context of a song. So I've put together an intro and a first verse of a song for you to listen to, so you can see how this instrument really holds its own when it's the major instrument in the song. Have a listen.
Pebbles on a beach, kicked around, displaced by feet. Oh, like broken stones, we're all trying to get home. Like a loser's reach, too slow and sure to hit the beat.
So if you'd like to get your hands on one of these awesome instruments or one of the other instruments from the Acoustic Samples library, then you should definitely enter into our giveaway. And you can do that in 3 simple steps. Step 1, I want you to leave a comment below and tell us what your favorite song is featuring a Fender Rhodes piano. Now, if you're not sure what songs have that instrument in, then just Google songs with Fender Rhodes and you should find a list of songs and have a listen to them. Come back here and leave that song title and perhaps the artist there. Second, you need to subscribe to this channel, and when you do subscribe, make sure you ring the bell on YouTube, and that is so that you will get notified of our announcement video where I will pick a random commenter and choose them to be the winner of the giveaway. It's as simple as that. That will happen at some point before Valentine's Day. Get it? V-Tines, Valentine's. I thought it was pretty clever. Anyway, you need to watch out on YouTube, wait for that announcement and see if you're a winner. I do have other giveaways coming up soon as well, so keep your eyes peeled for that. Until then, I will see you next week.